In these videos, we give you the top news of the day. Here are the top stories that will catch your attention. Vladimir Putin to welcome China's Xi to Moscow at critical moment. 3 days after being accused by an international tribunal of war crimes in Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin will be looking more than ever for a show of solidarity from his Chinese counterpart Xi Jinping when he welcomes him to Moscow on Monday. Xi will be the first world leader to shake Putin's hand since the International Criminal Court (ICC) issued an arrest warrant for the Russian leader on Friday over the deportation of Ukrainian children to Russia since the start of the war. Russia will present Xi's trip, his first since securing an unprecedented third term this month, as evidence that it has a powerful friend prepared to stand with it against a hostile West that it says is trying in vain to isolate and defeat it. Neither Moscow nor Beijing are members of the ICC, whose action the Kremlin said was outrageous but legally void, but by making Putin a wanted man in 123 countries virtually on the eve of Xi's trip. The court has shown an awkward spotlight on a meeting that was already delicate for the Chinese leader. As Russia's army struggles in Ukraine and the United States warns China against supplying Moscow with weapons, Beijing faces a choice it had hoped to avoid, said Jonathan Isle of the Royal United Services Institute, a London think tank. Either they do nothing and risk seeing Russia humiliated in Ukraine, which is not in China's interest, or they come to Russia's aid and risk a much bigger deterioration in their relationship with the United States and other Western countries, he said in a telephone interview. In an article for a Chinese newspaper published on the Kremlin website late on Sunday, Putin said he had high hopes for the visit by his good old friend Xi, with whom he signed a no-limits strategic partnership last year. He also welcomed China's willingness to mediate in the conflict. We are grateful for the balanced line of China in connection with the events taking place in Ukraine, for understanding their background and true causes. We welcome China's willingness to play a constructive role in resolving the crisis, Putin said. China last month published a 12-point paper calling for dialogue and a settlement in Ukraine, but it contained only general statements and no concrete proposal for how the year-long war might end. Ukraine cautiously welcomed the Chinese proposal, but says any settlement would require Russia to withdraw from all the territory it has seized, including the Crimean Peninsula it annexed in 2014. The United States has reacted with extreme skepticism to China's involvement, given its refusal to condemn Russia's invasion. White House spokesperson John Kirby told Fox News on Sunday that any call by Putin and Xi for a ceasefire now would be unacceptable because it would just ratify Russia's conquest to date. Trump says he expects to be arrested Tuesday as New York law enforcement prepares for possible indictment. In a social media post, Trump, referring to himself, said the leading Republican candidate and former president of the United States will be arrested on Tuesday of next week, though he did not say why he expects to be arrested. His team said after Trump's post that it had not received any notifications from prosecutors. CNN's John Miller reported Friday that meetings have been going on throughout the week among city, state and federal law enforcement agencies in New York City about security preparations for a possible indictment of Trump, in an echo of Trump's appeals to supporters in the wake of the 2020 presidential election. He called Saturday for action, writing, "Protest, take our nation back." The former president has been agitating for his team to get his base riled up and believes that an indictment would help him politically. Multiple people briefed on the matter told CNN. Any indictment of the former president, who is running for re-election in 2024, would mark a historic first and quickly change the political conversation around an already divisive figure. While Trump has an extensive history of civil litigation both before and after taking office, a criminal charge would represent a dramatic escalation of his legal woes as he works to recapture the White House. Another witness is expected to testify Monday before the grand jury investigating the hush money payments, according to a source familiar with the investigation. It is not clear whether this would be the final witness before it votes on a possible indictment. Trump's legal team has been anticipating that an indictment will happen soon and has been preparing behind the scenes for the next steps. Joe Tacopina, an attorney for Trump, later said the former president had based his claims on press reports. "No one tells us anything, which is very frustrating. President Trump is basing his response on press reports," Tacopina said in a statement to CNN. A spokesperson for Trump said earlier Saturday that the former president has not received a notification from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office regarding any potential indictment, but was rightfully highlighting his innocence in his post. Previewing a potential line of defense from Republicans on Capitol Hill, House Speaker Kevin McCarthy, a California Republican, tweeted Saturday that any potential indictment of the former president would represent an outrageous abuse of power from the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. Mike Pence, who served as vice president under Trump, echoed McCarthy's message on Saturday. "Well, like many Americans, I'm taken aback," Pence told Breitbart News in a radio interview. The former vice president claimed the Manhattan District Attorney's investigation reeks of political prosecution. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office declined to comment on Saturday. Trump has complained privately that he believes he is going to be indicted only because he thinks Manhattan District Attorney Alvin Bragg hates him, according to a source familiar with what Trump has said. His call for a protest in response to a potential arrest echoes his final days in office, when he repeatedly urged his supporters to reject the results of the 2020 presidential election, culminating in the deadly January 6, 2021, attack on the U.S. Capitol. Some of Trump's advisors had urged him privately not to call for protests, concerned about the optics of a mass protest in the streets of Manhattan growing out of control or resembling the 2021 insurrection. Bragg said in an email to staff on Saturday that his office will not tolerate attempts to intimidate our office or threaten the rule of law in New York. Trump's defense team is expected to be notified following any possible indictment, and then they would engage in negotiations for surrender and an initial appearance. Another witness is expected to testify Monday before the grand jury investigating the hush money payments, according to a source. It is not clear whether this would be the final witness before it votes on a possible indictment. This information sounds pretty interesting to me. I wonder how this will make people feel. You should tell me your opinion on this in the comments section below. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content on the regular, and hit the notification bell to be notified when we post.